Hey guys and gals, my name is Julian. Welcome to another episode of Tapping In on Wisconsin Submission Network, where we tap into the people that drive your local martial arts scene. This episode is sponsored by Elite Team Wisconsin BJJ, home of 7 days a week of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Today we're meeting with James and Alex Peterson. They're the LCCT Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt powerhouse couple behind Team FVGC in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's located at 801 West College Ave. The facility is open, it's well lit, it's clean. They allow puppies there, their own puppies. They have world-class instruction in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They also offer classes in Muay Thai, Judo, wrestling, and even yoga. I can tell from speaking with them that James and Alex are martial artists through and through, but what I like about them the most is that I can tell that they're just genuinely good people. And I really hope you enjoy the conversation that we had with them. All right, we're here at Fox Valley Grappling Club with James and Alexandra Peterson. They're the owners here. And we're just gonna ask them a few questions about what it's like to run a martial arts gym and what keeps them motivated on a day-to-day basis to help people kind of find their best selves and everything. So I know that Alexandra grew up in Connecticut.
I did.
I was kind of wondering what that was like as opposed to growing up or living in Wisconsin now.
It's a different feel, like living in New England and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a pretty small town, and so similar in terms of like martial arts and stuff like that. There is some similarities in terms of like having to travel to find the people that you would want to train with. Like I did a lot of traveling as a kid doing martial arts, like driving to Providence to see this coach, driving all over the state. At one point, like my karate coach lived in Los Angeles and lived in Chicago, so I was flying out to do training camps and stuff like that. And I feel like it's kind of like similar living in a kind of smaller town in Wisconsin, where it's like, okay, like where do we go to see our instructors? We drive 3 hours to Chicago to do that. So it's pretty similar in that way.
Yeah, and being a small town, it kind of sounds like maybe karate was your outlet for maybe activities to do.
Yeah, I started doing that when I was 9. Mm-hmm. So, and then ended up competing a lot, traveling around to compete a lot. And it took up basically all my time. I didn't do any other, I didn't have any time to do any team sports. Martial arts is a year-round thing, and so I, that's basically what I did. There was no break for it.
Yeah, and you were very successful. You were a 2001 U.S. Karate champion, right?
Yep, North American Sport Karate Association. I was first in my division for the year. They run it similar to like an IBJJF point system, where there's different tournaments are worth different amounts and stuff like that. And at the end of the year, they have a ranking list and stuff like that. So
sure.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your dad in the Jiu-Jitsu Legend podcast and how he didn't want you to do boxing or anything, but it sounds like he was very supportive of your martial arts career.
Yeah, he was definitely one of my biggest supporters, and was the one that traveled with me, and he's the one that brought okay, I need a coach to get me better for this or that, and he's the one driving me to Providence to go see this guy, and
sure.
Making it happen so that I could go out to California and that kind of thing. So he definitely instilled a sense of pushing to accomplish and stubbornness. I think that's probably one of the reasons I've been able to stick with jiu-jitsu is the stubbornness, just sheer stubbornness, for sure. But yeah, he was a really awesome supporter of me. But he didn't want me to box. He was concerned for my long-term physical health. And I think when he realized the injuries that you get with jiu-jitsu, I think he was not happy necessarily, but in terms of Parkinson's and stuff like that, that was really his main concern. So
sure.
It worked out well.
James, do you have a similar background and story with support, or?
Out of high school, I was heavily recruited by the NBA to play basketball. No, my dad was a basketball coach actually, and I played basketball until I was in high school, and my buddy Mike was like, man, aren't you tired of playing basketball? Like, you should come out and do wrestling with me. And I honestly didn't know what wrestling was. I thought it was like WWE stuff. That's what I thought wrestling was. And he's like, you're an idiot. Just come to one practice and you'll see how much you like it. And so I went to one practice and he was right. I liked it a lot. And I didn't realize there were like weight classes or anything like that. So I was like, oh, cool.
Because he was really small.
Yeah, I was like, as a freshman in high school, I was like 4'9", 4'10", and only like 95 pounds. So I looked like a fifth grader, you know. But that was great for like getting a lot of experience and training with the varsity guys and stuff like that. So I did that for 4 years. I ended up walking on at Wisconsin 1 year because I thought, man, if I don't try like to give this a shot, because the aura of the team is really like intimidating. But I thought, if I don't give it a shot, I'm gonna really regret this. And so I walked on and got a letter, and then I just didn't have the grit back then to like stick with it. So I let that go. And then I got all fat, and I decided I needed to do something that would keep me in shape. And I wasn't going and working out anywhere. And I ended up finding jiu-jitsu. And the first day I went in there, they were doing fireman's carries, and I was like, sweet, I know jiu-jitsu. Right? You know? And like I thought, oh, good. Like I know what's going on around here. And so I signed up, and then the second class, they were doing like paper cutter chokes, and I was like, I don't know jiu-jitsu at all. I don't know anything. But that's kind of like how it started. Just needed to get in shape, and then found out that you could still compete. I was a little bit like disappointed that I hadn't stuck with wrestling as long as I wanted to, and so I took that opportunity to like kind of push myself and start competing again, and that's basically the origin of me sticking with jiu-jitsu.
Are you from Wisconsin?
Yep, I'm from Milwaukee originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you guys end? I know you came here for school. You went to Lawrence.
Yep, I went to Lawrence, and I started doing jiu-jitsu the summer before my sophomore year back home, and like once I got back to Lawrence for my sophomore year, then ended up finding Fox Valley Grappling Club. Fox Valley Grappling Club existed for a long time before we took it over, and so we ended up meeting at jiu-jitsu, and
And I came up to Appleton because my ex-wife had a teaching job up here, and so after school, we moved it up here. This is where her family is from and stuff like that, and then after we met and my ex-wife and I adopted a kid, basically that was where I was going to stay.
Here you've been. So.
yeah, for sure.
So it sounds like you both are high level, are high achievers. Can you explain what motivates you on a daily basis to keep achieving and continue operating your business at a high level and competing at a high level?
I definitely think, like I said, like we were just talking about this yesterday, like I think I'd gotten through a lot of it just being like stubborn. I don't know. And there was a sense of like, I've had this sense of needing to be accomplishing stuff. And I think that, like that comes from like my childhood, like always being expected to be very high achieving. And that went for academics too. And I've actually had to kind of like unlearn some of that and learn how to enjoy just the process, because for jiu-jitsu, yeah, like you can have like a really like competitive mindset, and I feel like competition is important in a lot of ways, but I've really had to shift to just loving jiu-jitsu and not worrying about what am I accomplishing, like material wise, like what are the medals on the wall. That's not as important to me as like being a martial artist and loving the art and investing myself in that journey, and it might be like getting older too, like I've been competing for a long time, and at some point you're like, man, like how many training camps can I do? Like how long can my body sustain that level of competition? And, is that what I want to do forever? Is that the legacy that I want to leave? And I think as I get older, like a competition legacy is not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a legacy of helping people and spreading jiu-jitsu. And I know personally from the benefits that I've gotten from martial arts for the last 27 years or whatever, it's something that it's an important tool. It's an important thing that can affect people's lives so deeply. And like, I feel like if I can help spread those benefits to other people, that I am doing something. Like it's a ripple effect. And so what can I do to help improve the world? I'm using martial arts to try to help improve people's lives, and they get to improve people's lives through the development that they get. So I think that's definitely the direction that I've headed.
Yeah, I think Alex and I are on the same path as far as where we are now and wanting to benefit people through our coaching and through just the aura of the gym, the group, like the community mentality. I think the reason I stuck with jiu-jitsu and got good at it was because, if I'm being honest, I've always had like a low self-esteem. And so like anytime I was winning, I felt good. And anytime I was losing, I felt horrible. So I tried to, like, in all the sports I played in high school, in the beginning of my jiu-jitsu, it was about achieving and like making myself feel better. And at some point, it's weird. It's almost like it doesn't matter how you get into it. Like you want to get in shape, or like you achieve because you're stubborn, and you achieve because you feel crappy about yourself. Eventually, jiu-jitsu teaches you like a true self-confidence. Like you really find out who you are. Like people pick on me about being small, and I'm like, I like being small. I used to hate it. I used to hate being small and wanted to be bigger and stronger. And now I'm like, I'm small and I'm old. Let's fight. Like it's cool. Like I don't care. It's fun. It's fun to be like the small old guy who still goes in and tools people up and has a good time. But like Alex said, we're here to really help people now. We can still compete, and we do, but that's not the main focus of what we're here for. The main focus is coaching and hearing people's stories, how they say to us similar things that we've said to you, where it's like, I really never thought much of myself, but now I feel great doing jiu-jitsu. I have I have real confidence. I feel strong mentally and physically, and you can't really ask for more than that. I mean, that's the reason to stay in business, really, is like you're not going to make wads of money and stuff like that, but you're going to help a lot of people out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I definitely love the community aspect, and it kind of leads me into my next question, which is, and you were talking about it a little bit, but what are some of the life skills that martial arts can teach us? And if we feel like we're missing some of that community or connectedness with people, how do you think martial arts can help people with that?
Sure. So yeah, that's a lot. That's like two questions. That's two questions in one for sure. So I think that jiu-jitsu in particular, but like a lot of martial arts are gonna teach perseverance, dedication, goal setting. I think teaches you to respect not only like your own mind and your own body and invest in the development of yourself, but it also it teaches you to like respect and trust others, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like that's what jiu-jitsu training teams are all about. It's I'm putting a lot of trust in this person. I'm respecting this person for who they are. They get to come as they are on the mat, and that's how you get like this community of people that's so diverse. People get to be who they are and be respected for it, and that's a sense of like community and loyalty and trust that like people don't necessarily get from their own families, so to like to be able to show people and put them in a community where they're feeling that those bonds, I feel like that helps you in your life outside of the gym, where it's like, okay, this is what a strong relationship feels like.
Yeah, I think it also teaches, grit, and the one that I hear often is staying comfortable in uncomfortable situations,
Yeah.
right? And the people analogize the physical part of jiu-jitsu and those times where you're really in deep waters to areas in their life where emotionally they have that same sensation where they feel like, man, I'm in deep, or this is a real struggle, and you try to stay calm in the face of adversity and utilize, the principles of jiu-jitsu physically and mentally.
For sure.
I don't remember the second part of the question.
That's okay. Can you speak on being business owners in a martial arts gym? I know you took this over, so I think it was a guy named, was it John or?
Bill Krieg.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like, taking over a gym for someone?
So it was run as a club before we took over, and Bill was having a lot of like life changes, changing careers. He had a couple of kids and stuff like that, and so it was becoming a lot. It's like running a gym solo. Like I don't know how anybody does it. And we were both at a kind of period in our lives where we were like in transition, and like I graduated from college and then the economy crashed. And he was running his own business and just hating it, like a graphic design business. And I said to him, well, what do you want to do? Like, and he's like, well, I want to do jujitsu. If I could do anything, I'd do jujitsu. And I was like, all right. And so that was kind of the beginning of us kind of taking that. It's a huge plunge, like.
The whole idea wasn't to run a gym. The idea was, like, if I could be like a sponsored athlete who got paid to do jiu-jitsu, that's really what I wanted. But then we're like, that's really not probably gonna happen. So another way to do jiu-jitsu all the time is to coach it. And so I was like, if I could do anything all the time, it'd just be jiu-jitsu. I just get paid to do jiu-jitsu. And Alex was like, well,
closest thing.
yeah.
Closest next step. But it's definitely a huge, like, it's scary. It's jumping into the deep end of the pool for sure.
You're losing the security of that 9-to-5 type job. I mean, sounds like you came from your own business.
Yep.
Already.
And that stress was just
Transferred
enormous. So I was just looking to be doing something new. Like, if I'm going to be stressed about a job, I might as well be stressed about a job that I really care about, instead of being stressed about a job that I couldn't really give a shit about.
Yeah.
And back then it was a little easier to jump in because I think it was us and maybe one other gym or something like that. I don't even know if there was another one around. So it was not because
they're popping up all over.
There's like, in this little suburban area, there's got to be about 8 of them, 9 of them. And there's just, they pop up like crazy. And back then if we had the same situation today, I don't know if I'd have the guts to jump in.
Well, and when we started, you were a purple belt.
Yeah.
And I was a white belt still. And, but there was no other options. Like, that was, like, at that point.
Yeah, up here, me and Bill Krieg were the highest ranking guys around. We were both purple belts. I think I was no stripes and he was 2 stripes or something like that.
Right. So like dreaming about like kind of the team that we built now was like, I don't know that if it was even on our radar. Like now you get on the mats on some nights and there's like 4 black belts on the mat. It's like more brown belts than blue belts, and I'm like,
I could have never imagined. It would have seemed absurd to like even have that as a dream. Like if you're like, all right, one day let's try to have like, I don't know, 4 or 5 black belts and like a dozen brown belts, you'd be like, what? How do you even do that? That's crazy.
yeah, because like at that point, like I was like, man, like what's like I kind of know what a blue belt is, but like what's it feel like to be a blue belt? Like you can't even like imagine what, like we didn't have access to a black belt. Like at that, when we took over the school, the black belt we were affiliated under was in St. Louis, which is 8 hours away. And so like it was a really like reinventing the wheel for a lot of stuff for us. So it's been amazing to like see the development and see now how like fast people get pulled up and stuff like that.
What do you think you would attribute that to? Is it just the rising popularity of mixed martial arts as a sport, or what do you think it is?
In terms of like how many schools there are?
Schools popping up, people gaining interest, amount of brown belts and black belts that you're able to roll with around here now.
Well, certainly the reason we have so many high-ranking people is because when we joined LCCT with Luis and Thiago, they had a curriculum from basically like from nothing to black belt. And I started working really closely with Thiago because he was in Grafton. So I'd drive like an hour and 20 minutes down there, spend an afternoon with him, learn a bunch of stuff, bring it back up here, try to teach it the best I could, go back down, refresh, and do that. And so basically it was one of those things where Alex and I could get to a source a lot quicker when we switched to LCCT, and that curriculum being in place it's such a solid foundation, you know. Like once you learn the blue belt curriculum, you know, you are a solid blue belt, and then you can start helping other people like push the higher belts up and kind of drag the lower belts up. We were just talking about it at the end of practice the other day about how we all kind of like rising tide raises all the ships, and you know, whether you are a blue belt and you're hustling after, you know, purple and brown belts and making them work, or you're a brown belt that is like disseminating your knowledge amongst the lower belts, it's everybody helping everybody else out.
Well, and I think retention is a huge thing, and that and you know, like how do you get a brown belt? Well, you invest. You have coaches that are investing into these people for 8 years, for 10 years, for 12 years. You know, like these are relationships and investments in people that you know, like it's not going to happen overnight. And then if you don't have a culture, gym culture is real, and if you don't have a culture that is helping to positively feed into people, if you don't have a community that is going to support people, like you're not going to be able to maintain those relationships. And so like how do you create a strong team? It becomes about relationships. It becomes about investing in people long term. And I know it's going to be, hey, like this person walks in the door today, hey, this could be the beginning of a decade-long relationship plus, you know? Maybe they'll quit in 6 months, but the potential is, my initial investment is, hey, like this is a long haul thing, like I am invested in you.
Yeah, I always see every new person as like a potential black belt, you know, like I'm going to be around, I'm going to be coaching. It's just whether or not that person wants to be along for the ride for that long, you know what I'm saying? So you get a lot of people who get partway through and they're like, yeah, jiu-jitsu doesn't mean to me what it did before, and et cetera, et cetera. But Alex and I are gonna be here for who knows how long. And like we have black belts that are now contributing to teaching, and brown belts that are contributing to teaching, that they're not going anywhere anytime soon either. So we have that really solid foundation of education and helping each other out positively.
So you can really attribute the rise in the popularity to you guys, no hard work that you've been putting in. I'll do the humble break for you and say that it's all been
Obviously.
So, being gym owners, do you think there's a social responsibility to your community that you have? Or being just a business owner in general?
So, are you asking about COVID?
However you want to take it. Yeah, just being connected with the community. Do you think there's a responsibility as a business owner to give back in certain ways or connect with the community on a deeper level?
I think the impact that we try to have on the community is through jiu-jitsu to make better human beings, and that ripple effect going out into the community rather than we don't do food. We've done some, but we don't do food drives or backpack drives or anything like that, but we just try to do our best to create people that have, that are good people, compassionate people, people who want to, I was saying the other day, I believe in trickle down love, what you give to this person, part of that goes out into the community, and then whoever they touch, it goes out to, broader and broader and broader masses of people.
For sure. And I think, we've done some charity stuff as a gym, but it's definitely hasn't been a huge focal point. When you talk about social responsibilities in the last couple of years, COVID's been rough. Yeah. And I think that's for every gym owner, where there's no perfect answer for how we can navigate this situation. We definitely had our own path, and we got to this balance. There were a couple of points after the shutdown, after we got shut down for I think 9 weeks. We were trying to maintain stuff through Facebook Live classes and connecting with people digitally and stuff like that. But we got to that point where we had especially a lot of military veterans who were man, I am dying over here. I'm having a lot of my friends are committing suicide. I don't know how. I need jujitsu, and that was we got to that point where it's okay, well, if we're gonna have people that are struggling so heavily with their mental health, and jujitsu is their outlet, versus the risk of getting sick from COVID, it's starting to
the alarm bells were going off on people really having hard time surviving, living, and so we decided
without jiu-jitsu.
Without jiu-jitsu,
and that speaks to its efficacy.
Right, and so so that was kind of that first hump that we went over. We're okay, we understand that we are not socially distancing. There is a risk there, but that risk reward is it's changing. And then as things kind of got worse and vaccines became available, that became our second obstacle, and hospitals filling up and teachers getting sick and kids not being able to be vaccinated. It became kind of another issue. We ended up having it ended up being a 6-month vaccine mandate where we had 100% of our population was vaccinated. We took a huge hit from that. We took some flack for that, for sure. On the other hand, we had people who were appreciative of it. Yeah. But it was definitely okay, even if we're not concerned about, this pretty healthy person getting sick, man, there's no beds at the hospital.
Yeah. It was all a guessing game.
It's a guessing game.
We guessed to be in the safest mode that we could be in. That the mode that would protect the most people, and if other people got mad, which they did, and went to other gyms, we knew that was a potential thing, and we just decided to err on the side of caution.
Right. If we're wrong, we lose business. If we're right, we help save lives, kind of thing. But again, there's no way to know what's the right answer, and each person had to decide what they needed to do for themselves. And so we kind of approached it as a non-judgment thing, where it's okay, you need me to cancel your account, I'm going to cancel your account. I understand, you're welcome back. I don't when things change, the science changes, the situation changes, we're going to change our policies based on what, because it's not going to be a stagnant situation, and, you know, like, no judgment, like,
Yeah, and a
you're
decent
welcome.
amount of people who have left have come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
And it sounds like a majority of people were supporting or supportive.
For the most
Yeah.
part,
Especially for that, for the first year of COVID, we had an unbelievable support system. Like the amount of people that, like, I can't even tell you, like, the gratitude that I had for the people that kept their memberships going while
we were closed.
we were closed. Yeah, and you know, like, they don't have people to train with I know they don't have anyone to train with at home. It's not like they're like, all right, like, we're gonna get carpet burn in the living room
Right.
and do our best, you know. Like, I know you're not training at home and you're still paying your dues.
Yeah,
to
they would
help.
just say, you know, we want a gym when this is over.
Yeah.
You know, like, and if you guys don't survive, we're not going to have a gym to come back to. So we're going to keep basically just donating to you while you're shut down.
Dude,
Shout
it
out to
was-
those people.
Yeah, for sure.
It was wild. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That was James and Alex Peterson at Team FVGC in Appleton, Wisconsin. We really hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it ended a little abruptly. We had some technical difficulties at minute number 30, and we'll get that straightened out in the future. But if you enjoyed the conversation, please leave us a like, please leave us a comment, and let us know your thoughts, or subscribe to our channel so we can keep bringing you more content. Have a good day.
I'm small and I'm old. Let's fight, you know, like, it's cool. Like, I don't.